And welcome to the chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2. I'm David Lovejoy.
And I'm Chuckalicious, Chuck Williams.
Rhonda's been battling a little illness, and I might have to ban her on Monday if people are still sick around here like they've been. Or we might have to make her stay away for a day or two because it's getting rough around here. Usually Friday is Friends with Brant Fricker. Brant's on the road, so he asked his good friend, Mr. Ron Teal, to come in and talk. Ron Teal is going to be in Amarillo next week at Synergy, bringing positivity, giving you some understanding, and helping you in ways to live a better life. Mr. Teal is on the road himself, but we got a hold of him down in Alabama this morning. How you doing today, Ron?
I'm doing great, David. Doing really good this morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We want to talk about, we see what's going on in the world, and what Brant does for us each Friday. Comes in and gives a little note of positivity. We're inundated with the negative. It seems like that's what most energy people live off of nowadays is the negative. They feed on it. And you don't have to be a part of that. You don't have to buy into that mindset and that theory. And it's about standing up and being who you are. Ron, talk to us a little bit about invoking justice in your life and standing up and being the person you need to be.
Very good. And thank you for allowing me to be with you guys today. You know, I've seen people for so long who have just kind of had bad situations happen, injustices take place in their life. And it's like they just take it and it's like, that's all I'll ever have in my life. And They allow the negative aspects of culture to just run over them like a freight train. And recently I have, in the last few years, I've really been doing a lot of research and study concerning how we begin to change those things, how we begin to move it forward, how we learn how not only to take charge of our life, but also how to bring justice to the injustices that are working in our lives. And so I really think that rather than living by the negative aspects of the culture that we live in and the world that we experience and people we're around, I think we can begin to change that, shift the atmosphere, shift the relationships, be able to change the things and bring the justice into it and realize that there's something greater at work than just us. And so, you know, we need a time, especially in 24. I mean, there are so many negative things that we're facing, so many things, you know, governmentally, culturally, in the educational systems, in the workplace, employment. You know, it's time now that we begin to make it better rather than just kind of take it as it comes. Jesus in Scripture made a statement one time. He said, either make the tree good or make it bad. And I choose to make it good.
Yeah. Good term. Go ahead, Chuck. You had a question.
Yeah, Ron, you know, we're talking about justice. There is a big difference between justice and right or wrong, is it not?
Yes, I think so. I think that sometimes whenever we look at justice, we want to think of it as a limited thing in our life. Justice is really about overturning the injustices that are done, bringing justice so that we can make the right decisions.
Right.
You know, so many times people, they make decisions out of the injustices that have been done in their life. And the issue is they make the wrong decision. And it's all because they're making their decision from the wrong perspective.
Right.
When justice comes, then you're able to make the right decision. I can make it based upon the right aspect of life. I make it based upon being able to invoke a justice that I know will cause me to be able to make the difference and to go forward in the right things.
Ron, the first thing somebody's going to say is, one, I don't know how, and two, it's just way too hard.
Right.
How do you encourage her? How does a person themselves? Because I think I could tell you to do something 1,000,000 times. Until you want to do it, you're not going to do it.
You're not going to do it.
I can yell and scream at you. You're a grown man. Until you feel like it's important enough to you, how does a person get to that point where they say, listen, I'm floundering. I'm not finding my purpose. I feel miserable. I'm miserable to everybody around me. I've got to change this.
Yeah. I think that, you know, it's crazy enough. I think the first thing you do is you have to accept the injustice you're living in, and rather than deny it. You know, I mean, the truth is sometimes we have to define, okay, what is that injustice that came in my life? I cannot deal with something that is elusive, something I can't put my hand on, something I can't. I've got to realize this is here because of this. Now that I know that, now I can bring the necessary change in that situation so that I can move forward. I believe that when we begin invoking our justice, it's really about moving forward in life. It's moving into our destiny, moving into our God-created call in life. It's me understanding that, I now, because I know where I am, all right, these are the steps I take. I think there's three things that play into that. Number one, people that we're around. We've got to have people who understand how to be able to move forward in life. Second thing is in that we have to take that responsibility of being able to go forward. Now, I'm a minister, been a minister for 48 years. I believe that God has a strength and a power to give us by his Spirit to move us forward. But I can apply that to every issue in life. I talked with a gentleman yesterday morning. I was on my way to the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning. Guy I've been working with, talking with about justice, invoking your justice. He had a situation in his workplace, and they were in a very dire situation, and his boss called him in, and he said, do whatever you do to make this thing successful. He said, well, I'm going to invoke my justice. This is where we are. This is where we're going to be. This is how, and he began to talk to his boss about what they were going to do. He simply prayed. He began to decree by faith what needed to happen. The phone started ringing within an hour. What had been held up had been released, and they were able to go forward. So, and I think it's other injustices that we face in our lives. We have to do the same kind of thing. We got to believe, we got to move forward. We have to look at our destiny, and we have to chart a course to be able to get there. But realize this, our injustices do not define us. They do not. And I think that that's a problem with a lot of people.
They wrap themselves.
They're kind of like, well, that's defined me, and that's who I'll never be anything but this. Our injustices do not define our life. Everybody has them, and we have to overcome them. And, hopefully, as we kind of get this word out in people's lives, they'll be able, rather than falling to the injustice that has been dealt them, they'll overcome that and move forward.
Ron, it seems to me as though, there are some people that just can't let go to the injustices that's been done to them. What do you say to them? I mean, we can't all be a Disney character. Let it go, let it go. No, we ain't going to do that, What do you have to say to them?
Well, the power of forgiveness is amazing. And whenever I began dealing with people, helping them understand justice and bringing justice in their life, the first thing I teach them and the first thing that I encourage them in and really help them walk through is, have you forgiven the situation, the people involved, and everything that's there? It's crazy. Unforgiveness will put us into prison and keep us there if we're not careful.